Kunoichi, also known in pop culture as female shinobi. These femme fatales practice the art of ninjutsu and use their femininity as a weapon to be deadly and efficient in their missions. The stories of these beautiful assassins became very popular in many forms of media. Today we are going to dive into the world of video games with the story of Nightshade for the PS2. Hey guys, expecting someone else? StellaNeko here, helping Dandelion with an intro to this video. Let's go! How was that?
Stella, that was perfect. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Nightshade was a game released in Japan on December 4th, 2003, and the rest of the world in 2004. Now, in Japan, this game goes by the name Kunoichi. Why they decided to not keep the name Kunoichi overseas is a mystery to me, because each time I've looked this game up, I have been brought to two other random games, and frankly, it got annoying. Although I should probably try playing those games in the future for future videos. But for the sake of this video, I will be referring to the game as Nightshade going forward. Developed by Overworks and published by Sega, Nightshade is a sequel to 2002's action-adventure hack-and-slash game, Shinobi. It is also worth noting that this makes it the 11th game in the Shinobi franchise. The Shinobi series started life as a 2D shuriken-style action game and shifted to 3D around the early 2000s. Nightshade at its core is very similar to Shinobi, with some added features and improvements. The controls for the game are slightly different depending on the character you choose to play. The left analog stick controls the character, while the right stick will handle your camera. The circle button is jump or double jump, and X is your stealth dash. R1 toggles your lock on, while R2 switches between your targets, and L2 is your ninjutsu. L1 and triangle have different features this time around though. In the previous game, Shinobi, your kick ability was set to the back input plus square, and your throwing knives were triangle. L1 was your camera reset button. In Nightshade, triangle is now your kick button, and L1 throws your kunai and shuriken. This layout is much more practical in combat because you no longer need two inputs to perform a kick, which is determined by the direction Hotame's back was facing at the time, and that is no longer an issue. Now, these new changes only apply to Hibana and Hisui. Hotama and Joe still have their original layout from Shinobi, with the bonus of L1 or triangle being your kunai throwing. Kicking in Nightshade has a neat addition to it. Not only can you still break an enemy's guard, but you can also deflect missiles now and break armor. The window for hitting a missile is very small, so to make it easy for yourself, just do a jump kick. Unless you're using Joe and Hotama, who lack the ability to jump kick. These kicks can also be used to extend the reach of your aerial attacks and your tate. When attacking airborne enemies, especially armored ones, use the kick to break the armor or confirm your attack. This is a massive lifesaver, especially when you need to reach a wall or a platform at the last second, or you miss an enemy by mistake. Think of it as an extra move when fighting airborne. However, this only applies to Hibana and Hisui, so Joe and Hotama are out of luck in that department, especially against armored enemies. Yeah, it just kinda sucks. The stepping stone technique I mentioned in the last video also makes its return as well, keeping the same functions from the previous title and adding some new ones. When attacking an enemy, they freeze in place until all foes are down or you run out of time. If successful, you will be treated to a cool cutscene of your character posing while everything is cut down behind you. The upgrades we get to this now are a better UI gauge to help keep track of the enemies during the tate, so you'll know how much time you have before it's over. Originally, you only had 2 chances to jump as well. This time, we get multiple chances after every enemy you kill. A much needed upgrade to this function and a very, very less stressful time while doing it. Charge attacks are here also, but they vary depending on the character's playstyle. The charge attacks can be performed if you have at least one of the chakra gauges full, and then you hold down the attack button to initiate the attack. For Hibana and Hisui, you can summon clones and send them flying towards your opponent, regardless of the distance. Hotama keeps his dashing charge attack, although his can be a bit tricky to land if you're not precise enough. Joe still does not really get one, but the guy now has tate kunai, so it's a win-win. Stages in this game are too dang big. It's one thing to be performing Sonic's homing attack, but to set up a 3-act structure to these stages, that's crazy. I would have wanted point markers more than these huge sections that you have to run through, and many of them bring the game down to a snail's pace most of the time. Very few stages in Shinobi were this huge, and if they were, it was only about a section or two. And here, you have these huge chunks of stages that you have to slog through. In fact, the only stage I enjoyed was the stage where I was in the shipping yard because it was shorter. I think the stage layout and look is one of the things that brings Nightshade down. Still fun, but a lot of these were just too big. Nightshade provides players with quite a few extras. We get a survival mode, time attack, stage select, mission mode, and gallery. But the real bread and butter of the game, and what keeps me coming back mostly, is the survival mode. Survival puts you in one of 8 arenas, and your goal is to beat every enemy on the stage. Now your rank is actually dependent more so on the number of tate you perform, and this goes for a lot of the normal stages too. Nightshade is aesthetically lackluster compared to Shinobi. Some of the character designs check out though, I give them that. Habana's design is that of a slender young woman, clad in white, with red, and some black accents. The choice of color is a callback to Joe Musashi, of course, from the older games. While the design takes heavy inspiration from Hotsuma's costume in the first one, Hisui is the opposite in a way. While sharing a slender frame with Hibana, her color scheme consists of more cooler colors. In fact, I would go as far as to say she mimics Ayane from Dead or Alive very much so. I wouldn't be surprised if she was an inspiration for the character herself. The rest of the characters outside of Joe and the others, I question what some of them are really wearing, to be honest here.
Nightshade's audio is not half bad either. The English voice acting for the game is surprisingly good for its time, but we do like the option to change the audio to the Japanese cast like its predecessor did though. As for the soundtrack, well, it's okay actually. It's loaded to the brim with Japanese techno and a lot of drum and bass. Sprinkle some synthesizers in the mix for that arcade-like feel and boom, you're all set to go. A few songs actually stand out from the others, like the boss music for Kurahagane. And some of the stage BGMs as well are pretty good too. Whatever the case, it works for the game, giving you this pulse racing feel as you play throughout some of the game's different modes and difficulties.
Nightshade gets a 3 out of 5. The game fixes and adds a few things that Shinobi had, along with giving us 4 playable characters instead of 3, with 2 different styles of gameplay, even some extra costumes to boot. The addition of extra game modes is nice, though survival mode is all about someone would need to do outside of stage selection since it puts you in constant action. The game could use a few more unlockables though, like some more costumes or something added for Joe and Hotsuma. Heck, throw Maritsune in there, he was cool. The story's all over the place though, with many of the characters not leaving any lasting impressions or just being completely forgettable compared to the cast of Shinobi. The visuals are okay, but the stage layout is terrible and mind-numbingly long. It is a prime example of 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Alright everyone, did you guys ever get to try Nightshade or Shinobi when you were younger? Have you played the previous games in the Shinobi series? I had fun playing these games again, and to the person who recommended it in my last video, thank you. This was one heck of a trip down memory lane. So I want you all to let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is Dandelion, signing off.
Seriously though, check out StellaNeko and her streaming. You have no option here. No choice in the matter.